I understand y'all did speak through a facilitator and were unable to reach an agreement. I do appreciate your efforts to do so. At this point, we will proceed with the hearing on the petitioner's motion. The stalking petition was filed on July 12th of 2023. An ex parte order was issued on July 19th, and service was perfected by law enforcement on July 25th of 2023. So, Ms. Frazier, I have some initial questions for you. How do you know Mr. Hicks?
We work together.
Okay. Where do you work together?
AT&T.
Do you work in the same building?
Yes, ma'am.
How close are your offices to each other?
We're on the same floor.
Okay. And has any of this been brought up with your employer?
Yes, it has.
And is there an ongoing human resources investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that filed or started? I can't hear you.
I want to say...
Let me ask you this. Are you going somewhere where you'll be in one place?
Yeah, I'm trying. I was getting out of the car, so I can.
Okay, let's get you to somewhere settled because it's distracting for people to be moving around while courts and testifying.
Well, I believe it started on June 6th. June 6th.
June 6th is when the human resources happen. Is there anything in place right now per human resources about contact?
As of right now, they're just following the restraining order that was provided. And I'm currently on an LOA, so I'm not really sure what's been going on.
Well, this was filed on July 12th, and you said June 6th. So did they put anything in place before the ex parte order was issued?
No, they just told us to stay away from each other until they were able to resolve everything.
Okay. All right. So how long have you known him?
I would say since last year, about June or July.
And what has that relationship been like?
When we first started our relationship, he was my mentor, like an MI60 who pretty much helped us on the floor. He would always check up on me consistently. And that's kind of like where we kind of formed a more than a friendship relationship outside of work. That's kind of like how it started.
Is it a friendship or a dating relationship?
I wouldn't say it was dating. It's kind of like one of those things like we're friends with benefits because we never really went anywhere as far as dating. Only thing we ever did was have sex, and that was it.
Okay. When did that relationship stop?
After I had my ectopic pregnancy, I didn't let him know about it. And then we probably stopped talking probably in October of last year.
And what has happened since then?
Nothing. On my end, nothing at all.
So why did you file this order?
Because he has still been following me inside of work, outside of work, at home, following my child, harassing my friends at work, pulling them in our parking garage, crying to them, saying that he's in love with me. I have multiple people who told me that they watch him follow me to time himself to walk out the building with me. So
I need to hear a testimony from you specifically. When is the last time before you filed this order that you say he followed you at your home or outside of work?
What day was that? I got into I don't know the exact date, but I want to say it was like beginning of July. But because we stay in the same apartment complex and we
so
get
y'all
off
are in the same apartment complex as well?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
How far away are your apartments?
I live in the first phase of it. He lives with someone else that's their apartment in the second phase.
About how far are those?
I wouldn't know the exact footage. They're right behind each other. So they're
Okay, so y'all live and work in the same place. Give me examples of when you say he's following you and not at his residence or at work.
Outside of work, I had an incident where I was talking to someone else, and he would purposely call them just to see what's going on. I don't know what his reason was behind it.
Did he
Or
tell that person to tell you anything?
he told them to watch out, I guess, in a sense, and he showed me text messages of him texting him about me.
Okay. Has he had any contact with you directly?
Chaz, no. Only
So
time he would have any kind of contact with me is if he would try to brush it off at work or try to act like he's speaking at work and keep it moving. But anything else has always been indirect from the time that I told him to leave me alone.
Okay, so when did you tell him to leave you alone?
Sometime last year in October. And I just told him that I didn't want to continue anything.
So, have there been any other communications to you, or what kind of following are you talking about?
Well, now it's just mainly at work. And now it's just now when my son goes outside, coincidentally, he's not always outside. I lived there for 3 years. My son never had this issue until now this restraining order has come about. And now he's always outside at the same time as my son is outside. I don't think
So give me some examples of when that has happened.
It happened yesterday. My son was at the basketball court. Him and my little sister said that his Xfinity was sitting outside the basketball court and the playground where they were playing at.
How close is the basketball court to his apartment complex? His part of the apartment complex?
I have no idea. I don't go on his side to know.
But your son was over there?
Yeah, my son was at the playground.
Okay. Were you there?
No.
Have you been there when your son says he's seen him?
No, because of the order.
So you said you've been on leave of absence from work. So when was he following you at work, and what did that look like?
Him following me at work is more him following me in a parking garage, or if I'm on lunch break, he's magically somewhere hiding in a corner that I don't know of, or
so give me an example of following you in the parking garage.
So because we get off around the same time, he can easily time us from getting out the building to walk around the same time. Or if I'm leaving on break, magically he's in the hallway or going down the same elevator as me when it shouldn't. Our breaks and stuff are not at the same time. The only thing that's at the same time is when we actually leave the building.
So y'all would be in the elevator or the parking deck at the same time?
Correct.
Does he say anything to you at these times?
No, he's forbidden to speak to me at work since the investigation.
Okay. All right. Have you submitted anything that you want the court to consider, or any witnesses you want the court to hear from?
I had 2 witnesses. I'm not sure if they're still on the line, but I did have 2 witnesses.
All right.
I do have my witness still here. Let me actually look up to see.
Okay, before we bring that witness in, sir, this is your chance to ask any specific questions you have of her about what she's testified to. You can unmute, and if you have any specific questions about what she's testified to, you may ask them to me, and I will ask them of her.
Okay. There was a text message she sent to me April 10th that said, "Leave me alone." And ever since then, it hasn't been no contact. Have I called or text or made any remarks towards us since then? Have I texted her phone since then?
Okay. So, ma'am, Did you send him a text on April 10th saying, leave me alone?
Yes, because he approached me at our office workplace, asking me why I'm not picking up my phone or why I'm not texting him back. That's also the same time when he was in a parking garage crying to one of my closest friends about how he doesn't understand why I'm not picking up the phone, that he's in love with me and I bought him dog food and all this stuff. So it was just for me to reiterate, just to leave me alone.
Okay.
Nothing more than that.
All right. So after that, since then, has he contacted you or approached you and spoken with you in any way?
No, everything ever that since then has been indirect. Like he goes to other people.
Okay. All right. Next question.
I'm gonna grab a file real quick, just off my other computer, so I can have some date reference points. Give me 1 second. Do you recall asking me if I had feelings for you June around June 13th, June 11th? Yes. So did you ask me? Did you ask me to come outside to have a conversation with you?
Yes, I did. The reason because is that your mutual friend or our mutual friend Lewis that same day showed me text messages that you were following me on lunch break and that you were also trying to warn him about me for whatever odd reason. And that same day, I also pulled you outside to ask you, why you keep doing this? Is there something that I don't know about? Is there something that you still need to get off your chest that I don't know about so you can stop? And you proceeded to say, oh no, everything is fine. So I said, okay. And I walked away and left it at that.
Another question. Did you ask me to come to your desk because you had system issues, but then turn around and said you just wanted to see how I was doing?
No.
Okay. Did you tell the human investigator report that we stopped talking around August, September?
So I'm going to start asking questions. So it's not, I know it seems weird, but
No,
I don't want it.
as in you, ma'am. I mean, to you.
I want
I'm sorry,
it to
my
be,
apologies.
I want to keep it from being back and forth. So
Okay.
did you tell the human resources investigator that the relationship ended in August, September, ma'am?
I told the human resources that I didn't know the exact date. I told him that I think it was between September and October because I don't have the physical messages and I didn't want to call the carrier to get them pulled. But I told him it was around the time after I had my ectopic pregnancy and it was on and off. It wasn't like a continuous thing. But I did tell them that I didn't know the exact date.
All right, Judge. Did you invite me to come out to an outing event with you and your team?
All right. Did you invite him to come? And sir, when you ask these, can you ask approximate?
Okay.
Do it in the context of approximate date.
January, February. Did you invite me to come out and spend time with you?
Okay.
January,
so
February.
In January or February, did you invite him to come out to join you and your team?
No, I didn't personally invite him. One of my coworkers who outing it was told me to invite him to come, and that was really it. I don't even think he even showed.
Was this a social outing?
Yeah, it was
outside of work.
Yes, ma'am.
So you did on her request?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Next question.
Did you come to my section at work repeatedly during times where you've told the office that I was harassing you?
No, never.
Okay.
I don't even ask you for help at work. I don't even ask my own manager for help at work.
Did ma'am, HR included their investigation around the 10th of July or 10th of around July. The conclusion resulted in me taking a workplace training towards relationships in the workplace. That case did close.
So, sir, wait a minute. So this isn't testifying. You'll have a chance to testify. So do you have a question about that?
I'm going to ask, did you know that the case actually came to a conclusion June 10th?
The case came to a conclusion on June 10th, but I was not on July 10th, but it got reopened because of the restraining order and because the case did not get handled properly because I was the last person to be talked to after 2 weeks of the investigation started. So I reopened it with our legal team, not with HR anymore. because you not only lied about it, and the witnesses you are using also lied about it. So now I have to take it legal to get the Vortex video and to get all the other videos that I need. So this is why I'm taking this step to go ahead and get all of that, because now our legal team at AT&T is now being involved.
Okay. Next question.
Did you see me in the lobby of AT&T and still proceeded to approach me after we have left the police from downstairs?
What
no,
date
I was coming back into the building.
Hold on. What date are you talking about, sir?
July 24th. I've also sent documents of this as well.
All right, hold on. On July 24th, ask that question again. So on July 24th, did you see the respondent in the lobby and approach him?
I never approach him. But yes, in our lobby, in order to get to our floor, unfortunately, we all have to walk through the same doors and use the same elevator. And at that time, I had got a phone call from my boss to come upstairs. And in the timing of me coming upstairs, he was also coming downstairs. So no, I was not coming to approach you. I went to go talk to Brett, who then continued to proceed with my LOA. And that's why I left the same day. So no, it didn't have anything to do with him. I was coming back in the building because my boss instructed me to.
All right, next question. You'll be able to, sir, and I'll tell you, you'll be able to present any evidence that you're referencing when you're testifying.
Okay. Did you curse me out in the building June 9th? June 16th. Did you curse me out in the building and reference me and F word, me and another person?
Hey, ma'am, did you curse him out in the building on June 16th?
Yes, because he walked up on me to my area where he shouldn't be, and he was off the clock as well, to ask me to go into a meeting with him when he's not my manager. A meeting was never scheduled on my schedule to go into a meeting with him, and my shift was about to end. So he came to my section provoking me. And then, yes, that's when I retaliated, and that's what started our investigation at work.
Do I clock in and out, and am I only supposed to be in the building at a set time?
Ma'am.
No, you're on salary.
Okay.
No, you're on salary, but also on that same day. In the same day, you also went to my supervisor at that time who was watching my team, let him know that you're leaving at 5 o'clock that day, which you did leave. But then you proceed to come back because you had to fix another employee that you're also having relationships with that same day. And then you magically made your way to my section. And then that's how we got into it, because for some reason, you're always inserting yourself where you're not belong.
Judge, am I a system ambassador and also responsible to make sure all systems in the building are running at all times?
Okay, so I'm going to allow a few questions about hold on. I'm going to allow a few questions about this. I don't want to get too far into the HR investigation. What I'm looking at is evidence of stalking. So, I mean, I'll let her answer that question. I don't know what HR has said that you are allowed and not allowed to do. But his question, you heard his question, ma'am. Do you know if he's a system administrator and what he's supposed to be doing?
Even if he is a system ambassador, I didn't have any system issues and did not need any help. I was actually on a live call speaking to a customer at that time. Didn't need any assistance from anyone.
Judge, is there any footage of me harassing your son? And why would he be on my side of the neighborhood, which is over 300 yards away at a basketball court? There's no basketball court in my neighborhood.
Okay, hold on. So do you have any footage of him harassing your son, ma'am?
I have the video that I sent of him being like by the park. But my son's been going to his best friend's house for the last 3 years. I honestly live over there for the last 3 years. I never had an issue. And unfortunately, his best friend's home is in the same building as his, since I just found that out. But even with him knowing that, he's been living over there for about almost a year now. We never had this issue. But now when the restraining order was presented, now every time when my son is outside, now you're outside when he's outside. Okay. That's not a cool.
Does he say anything to your son or harass or threaten him in any way?
No, he just walks past with his dog and stuff. So I just have my son to record it just to protect himself.
Okay. Has he ever harassed or threatened you in any way?
No, he just pops up. He sat outside my building. He'll drive off. He will indirectly go to other people, or he will do it. Like he said, he'll use his job title as I'm doing my job. So it's like a cover up in a sense.
Okay. All right. Next question, sir.
Do you have any video of my vehicle or me outside of your house in your apartment?
Yes, the apartment complex actually has them. I have them pulled from October, November, but they need my restraining order to be permanent. So that way they can also issue the eviction to have you removed off the premises as well.
Okay, and I'll just
But
make
yes,
a
I
note
do.
that this is not the eviction process. All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
And that's not the purpose of
Yeah,
this
I
hearing.
know. I spoke to them
Okay.
separately.
All right,
Yes, ma'am.
making sure. All right, go ahead, sir.
If I harassed you in October, November, December, why did you still invite me to an event if you were scared for your safety?
Because the girl who told me to invite you, you were also talking to her as well. And it was her birthday. She has proof too. I mean, I can send her the link to add her in here
Next
as well.
question.
How often would you say I stalk your son and his friends? And what acts of stalking besides walking my dog do you deem aggressive or harassment?
So I'm not saying it's aggressive, but it's very
Judge.
indirect. It's like when someone is indirectly stalking you. Like I said before, my son's been going over there with no problem for years. And it hasn't been until now you've been issued this restraining order that now every time when my son is outside, you're outside as well. That's not a coincidence. So I'm not saying you're doing anything aggressively, but you also know exactly what you're doing as well.
Okay, I also want to make clear that the parties understand this was not filed on behalf of the child. This is acts of stalking by the respondent towards the petitioner. Now, harassing, threatening, and intimidating the petitioner's immediate family could be evidence of acts of stalking, but not necessarily being around a member of petitioner's family when they live at the same apartment complex. So I'm trying to...
We live in phase one and phase two.
So hold on, sir. So
okay,
hold on.
I'm sorry,
hold on.
go ahead.
So is this a question you're getting ready to ask?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
We live in phase one, which is completely separate than phase two, which is separated by 2 gates. How many days would you say a month have you seen me outside of your apartment? And how many days have you captured me outside of your apartment? And would that be my vehicle or would that be personally me outside of your apartment?
So, ma'am, how many days have you seen him in the past few months outside of your apartment? And was it in his vehicle or him just standing there?
Outside of my apartment in the last few months, you haven't done it recently. The last time you were probably outside of my building when I caught you was probably like around... The last time was when I was with Louis. We were both going to my building and you were driving out of my building. You almost hit me and you went to the exit gate. And that had to be probably like around the end of May. But then in October, November, you were sitting outside of my building as well. My cousin was going to walk to your car because he called me and asked me if I knew the Infinity that was sitting out there. So it's been a couple of times. Those are just the only 2 times that I personally caught you, which is why I'm trying to get the video footage from our apartment complex. But from my eyes, those are the only time I've seen you.
Judge, there is no footage of me on that side of the apartment since May, so I would definitely like that. And in November, did you not invite me to come pick you up because you did not have your car?
That day.
Hold on. Let me ask the question. In November, did you invite him? And we're getting a little bit outside. Well, I'm talking about recent ongoing conduct. But in November, did you invite him to come get you because of an issue with a car?
I told him to come get me whenever that day was. I doubt it was in November. It had to be back in October. I told you to come get me, but then I told you never mind, and I drove my car over there. So you did not come and get me, and you know that.
All right, next question.
We will move to something else. But if you told me to come get you, but then drove to my house, how is that harassment if you came to visit me that same night?
Because we had relations back in October, Chad. We did have relations. Your date and what I'm saying don't line up. But after I told you to stop bothering me, you would not stop. You are continuing to do it indirectly, and you know that. All you have to do is just stop, but you just won't stop.
Okay, Judge, hold on. Mr. Hicks, can you focus on stuff that's more recent?
Okay, Judge, there is nothing recent after April 10th whatsoever. So I don't understand what took place after April 10th. Besides,
so wait, are you asking a question or are you ready to testify?
Yes, I'm asking a question.
Okay, what's your question?
What specific things have I done since April 10th that constitutes harassment and stalking in your
What acts
definition?
of stalking has he done since April 10th?
You have followed me to the parking garage. You will park your car next to me in the parking garage. You have harassed my friend, cried to them in the parking garage. You have texted the guy who I was talking to about me and telling him things, and then you will call him to open the gate with you when you know that he's with me. You have followed me to when I'm leaving out at the same time as you. So what do you mean?
So when you say, let me ask this, how many times did he park next to you in the parking garage?
I can't count how many times.
More, can you give me an estimate? After you told him to have no contact with you.
From October to now, I wouldn't be able to give you, I would say at least.
That's fine. If you can't remember, I don't want you to guess. All right, sir, what's your next question?
Do you agree that we do have a parked garage and there's cars that look like mine and cars that look like yours because we have common cars?
You always say specifically, I always notice your car because you don't have your door handle. So yes, I am aware that they make multiple models of your car and my car, but our models are also distinctive, as in mine don't have a door handle, which you are very aware of.
Okay. Next question.
Judge, I really don't have too much to ask dealing with when the harassment or the TPO was put in, because this was, okay, one question. Was the TPO a result of retaliation because of the job didn't punish me the way you would like to see fit?
No, I didn't even know anything about what happened to you at work because like I said, I was the last person that they communicated to. So I honestly didn't know your status at work at all. But the more people kept coming up to me and telling me that they physically watched you follow me, like people who I know you're personally close to were coming up and telling me things like that, it rubbed me the wrong way. And then when I seen the social media thing about you trying to friend my son on social media, that also rubbed me the wrong way. I'm an actual parent in my child's life every day. So that's the reason why. It has nothing to do with retaliate back to you. If I wanted to do something to you, it would have been done already. But that wasn't the case. All you had to do was stop, and none of this would have ever happened. None of it. But Judge, you won't stop.
Okay. Yes, sir. Do you have another question?
Do you have those witnesses with proof of times and date that I followed you on lunch and where to?
I can get them. I can.
Are they? So everybody's supposed to have witnesses and evidence here today. We're in the middle of the hearing.
I have 2 witnesses from today.
Are they present?
I don't know if they're still present. I had them on here since earlier.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're still on here.
How many times did someone come up to you and say he was following you, and when was that?
How many times? Almost every other day. How many people? I have multiple managers, multiple agents.
Was this in the office, though, is what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And this is in the office where y'all both work on the same floor?
Unfortunately, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Judge,
and wait, when is the last time someone approached you about that?
Right before I took my LOA was about 2 weeks ago. One of our managers named Jason was like, he approached me and he was like, at first I didn't understand. And then he was like, I personally watched him watch you go to the elevator.
Okay, we can't get into too many specifics without having that witness here to testify, but okay. I just need to know it's brief time frame. All right. So continue with your questions, sir.
So the question is, do we not have the same similar schedule, which is lunches around the same time and we get off work at the same time?
We do now. We didn't always.
Okay.
Could it ever be a coincidence that I'm not paying you any attention whatsoever and that you're looking to me to see if I'm paying you attention because we're in the same area?
I would believe that if people weren't coming to me telling me that they're watching you. I don't pay attention to you. We don't even sit on the same side. I don't talk to you. I don't see you. So no, I don't believe in coincidence. Everything happens for a reason.
Judge.
So wait a minute. I have a follow-up question. So you did not notice him watching you, but it was the people coming to you that brought it to your attention. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I stayed to myself.
Okay. All right. So go ahead, sir.
Are there people watching me on your behalf to see if I'm watching you?
No, these are your friends. I don't talk to none of these people. I don't talk to Jason, which is your management team. These are your management team. I don't talk to them. You do. I'm not in group chats with them. You are.
Judge, is Jason a manager?
Yes, he is.
Judge, Jason is not a manager. He's an agent level.
Okay, no, you don't get to testify. Okay. You'll have a chance to testify. If you don't agree with the answer.
Okay, that's fine.
Next question.
am I in a group chat with Jason, or is Jason invited to fill in to support a team in one of our chats?
Rather, the role of Jason is to fill in. As of right now, Jason is now a manager due to one of our managers now being fired. Jason is also one of your friends who also came to me and told me a plethora of things that you told him about a lot of situations, even down to the day that the investigation started at work. So
Okay.
whether Jason is a manager or not, he's also one of your friends that's telling me this too.
All right. I want to come back because I feel like we've gone too far into HR technical stuff and not whether acts of stalking have been.
We can keep it strictly here, ma'am, with the acts of the case itself. I'm all for that. Let me just get.
Do you have how many more questions do you think you have for her?
Okay, just one more. Do you find yourself constantly talking about me to everyone around you?
Never. I don't even mention your name. You're not even a topic of discussion for me, love. Not at work, not outside of work. I have a lot of things going in my life, and I promise you're nowhere near the conversation of topic. I don't even talk to you about to anyone. Not one single person.
Okay.
One last question.
Yes.
Do you constantly talk about me harassing you to your previous boyfriend?
He's not my boyfriend, and I didn't constantly talk to him. I was being honest to him when we first met about our situation because I knew you guys used to be friends, and you only befriended him after 8 months of not talking to him because you seen him talking to me again. So no, I was being an honest person and told him that, yes, me and you used to have relations because you guys used to be friends. So that way he didn't feel disrespected. But as far as me constantly talking about you, there's no need for me to talk about you.
One last question. I know I said one last. Who met who first? Did I know Lewis first, or did you introduce yourself to Lewis after you knew me and Lewis were friends? And that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Why is this relevant to anything?
Actually,
I have no idea.
Okay, so stop. I'm not going to let you ask that question.
Let's. This is done, ma'am. I'm done with any questions.
So hold on. So, ma'am, do you have a witness? It looks like we may have one witness. I'm going to put the parties. I have to take an announcement. When we come back in, that witness will testify, and the respondent will have a chance to cross-examine him. Now, that witness has to testify about things she has actually witnessed, acts of stalking that have been witnessed by the witness. Okay.
Yes,
All right. And Mr. Scott, how do you know Miss Shanquelle Frazier?
From work, previous job.
Do you still work with her?
No, ma'am. I just recently left the company last month.
Is that AT&T?
Correct.
All right. So you left last month. And do you know Mr. Chaz Hicks?
I do.
And you know him also from working there?
Correct.
Did you have a friendship with either one of these outside the office?
I've been out with both of them before at the same place.
Okay. All right. So, ma'am, you can ask him questions if you have any about what acts of stalking that he has witnessed.
I just wanted you to just give a brief description on what you witnessed from the interaction with Chaz, because he's saying that I always come up to his cubicle and ask him for help when it's completely the other way around.
So this isn't time to testify. Just ask the question. Is you need to form it in the form of a question. So what's your question to him?
Have you ever witnessed Chaz harassing you?
Yes.
Okay. Where have you witnessed this?
At the office, in the parking garage. Those are the two places that I witnessed it myself.
Okay. What did you witness in the office and when?
Okay. Well, you have one incident that occurred to where he was in the area where my team operates, and he was talking to a couple of my representatives. He left from that area, walked over there to the area where Shanquelle's team was at, which is on the other side of a conference room, and told her that she needed to log out into meeting. She told him to leave me alone. I'm not logging out in the meeting. He said it again. I need you to log out in the meeting and come and talk to me. She said, I'm not coming out. I'm not logging out in the meeting. I'm not talking to you. You are not my manager. I'm not doing it. He says, well, if you don't do it, then I'm going to write you up for insubordination. She says, you write me up for insubordination. Then I'm going to HR. They get into a discussion there on the floor. He leaves. She comes to where my desk is at, talks to me about it. Then he called me on the phone later on that evening, asking for advice on what to do with the situation.
Okay. Around when was this?
This was on June. Well, I can't give you the exact date off the top of my head, but it was late June.
Of this year?
In June. Yes, ma'am. At around 7:30 p.m. Around 7:30 p.m. I remember the time better than the date. He called me around 8:30 that evening.
Okay, so the event happened at work that day.
Correct.
You observed that. Okay, so what else have you observed, if anything?
Okay, you have multiple instances where now his team works on the opposite side of the building from where my team worked at, where he would come through and linger around, kind of walk by and look in the back corner.
Let me ask you this. Are y'all on the same floor?
Correct.
Okay. Is it kind of, I need you to describe for me the layout. Is it cubicles? Is it open floor plan? What's going on?
So it's cubicles, and they're sectioned off into 4 sections labeled A through D. We sat on opposite sides. So if you was to say draw a square in your mind, he's against one wall, I'm against the other.
Okay. All right. So you said you saw him lingering around. Can you tell me what that looks like?
So, for example, she sat in the back corner where the team was at. I usually sat in the aisle by the team. I didn't really use my desk. I sat in the floor with my team. And you would have instances where he would just walk by and look in the corner to see if she was there, kind of stand around to have conversation to see if she would come back. If she was there, he'd just kind of stand around there and kind of look and want to have conversation with folk in the area, and then would leave. You would have instances where anytime that, say, she would get up to go to the restroom or go to the vending machine or whatever, he would be standing there and just like watching as she would go by. You have an instance where we were at a place called Hudson Grill, and my team we was doing a team builder outing for birthdays, and this was supposed to be exclusive to just my particular team and another manager whose birthday it was as well. Next thing you know, he comes in and tries to join and stay at the table with us. You have another instance that I personally saw where she asked myself and 2 other gentlemen to walk with her to the parking garage because she did not feel comfortable, with him being around and watching, and every time she would go somewhere, be there. So we walk into the garage, and sure enough, as soon as we get outside, he's there. We get inside the garage, he's kind of walking and lingering, trying to see, where she's at and kind of watching. I walk her to her car, and he's parked directly across upper level to where he could look down onto the car. I said, well, I'll ride to the front with you so then you don't have to worry about it. And he comes around and he follows the car as we're leaving. I get out by the door by the parking garage, and he takes a picture of me getting out of the car. Now, I didn't physically see him take the picture. This is what he told to another one of our peers, saying, I saw him in the car.
Okay. But you didn't see him take a picture?
I didn't physically see him take the picture.
So around when was this incident you're describing?
The time when he followed in the car, this was, again, late June. Yes, I'm going to say late June.
Okay. Do you have any more questions for him, ma'am?
No, ma'am.
All right. So at this point, Mr. Hicks, you may ask this witness questions if you have any.
All right. Mr. Scott, were you involved with Shanquille at a restaurant on a date at the Vortex outside of the building?
No, we were not involved on the date. She welcomed me to get my food. I saw you there and you proceeded to buy me a double shot of Casamigos Reposado. You engaged in conversation with me.
When was this that you're talking about, Mr. Hicks?
July 9th.
Of this year?
Yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
It was not in July, it was in June.
Okay.
June 9th. Did Shanquell often take you home from work?
She has given me a ride home from work before, yes.
Have y'all spent time in the office and out of the office?
What do you mean by spend time? I need you to clarify your question.
Have you, as in hang around sometimes in the office and also hang around with each other out of the office on offsite premises?
She worked directly for me, so she was around me 24/7 in the office. She was my direct report. So again, I'm confused by what do you mean by spending time when she worked directly for me?
So let me intervene here. Did y'all have a relationship outside of the office, casual friendship or otherwise?
Friendship, yes, she worked for me. We would have conversation, that's it. And then the time that I told you about at Hudson Grill was the time we saw each other outside of work amongst the team. It was not individually based. It was with my entire team.
Got it. Okay, next question.
When you saw me in the parking garage, was I in front of you all or were you all behind me?
Inside the parking garage, we was both in there at the same time. No one was in front of anybody. You were standing off to the side.
Can you remember the location of the parking lot that I was standing off to the side?
We was
Where
on.
did the picture go that I sent?
She already stated, and I already stated that I did not physically see you take the picture. So that becomes irrelevant to the conversation since I didn't physically see you take it.
Do you have any personal knowledge of where any picture went if he took one?
Yes, he told it to a couple of peers that we had in the office. He told them that he took a picture of us, of me getting out of her car.
But his question is, do you know where the... Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Do you know where the picture is or who has the picture that we speaking of?
I do not know.
Okay. Did you know Shanquell had dealings with me while she was on your team?
No.
Were you not in the car with her one day when she said she was dropping you off and headed to my house?
No.
What times are you talking about, please?
Okay. No, I would say November, January.
Okay, so this is getting into HR and not relevant for your acts of stalking, allegedly.
Second thing, were you often with Shanquell off during work hours off at outside locations?
Okay, hold on, stop. How is this relevant to whether you committed acts of stalking against her?
Because they actually have a working relationship, and that's the reason why he's a witness.
When you say a working relationship,
not a working relationship, but an active relationship.
Okay. Are you saying that is your question, do they have an intimate relationship?
More of maybe if it's not intimate, do he have an interest in making sure or matter of fact, no, I got another question. After the incident happened in the building with the blow up, I came directly looking for you at 7:50 or 8:01 before I made the phone call. Where were you at that time when I came looking for you that she was able to find you and I couldn't because I searched the whole building?
It did not look for
that
me.
question is very convoluted, but if he understands it, you can answer it.
I understand the basis of what he's attempting to ask me. Again, after their blow up occurred, I was sitting at my desk. She came and was speaking to me at my desk. After that, I went into the conference room when he called my phone. I missed the first call because I did not have his number saved in my phone. I normally don't answer unsaved numbers. I went into the conference room and called him back. If you would like, I can give you the exact time if I go through the phone records, but there was no physical search for me done at all. because I was in the area of my team.
At one point in time, did you call me back around 10 o'clock that night and say, just squash everything because you don't want the big boss finding out?
No, those are not my words.
Okay.
All right. What did you say?
So when he called me, he asked me for advice. He wanted to know, what do I think he should do? And I quote, he said, I need that Rob Scott advice. Then he proceeded to tell me about their personal relationship or lack thereof, her relationship or lack thereof with another gentleman, and wanted to talk about various things that had nothing to do with the incident at hand. What I told him was, because he said he wanted to get out in front of it before HR got involved because she said she was going to HR. My words to him was that you need to chalk this up as a misunderstanding. No one needs to be in trouble. You need to say it was a misunderstanding. They will say the same. He says, yeah, Tank just told me that I will make sure that nothing happens. I said, yes, that is my former team. We will just squash it as a miscommunication so neither one of y'all are in trouble. When I called him back the second time, I said, I thought I told you to let it go. How does Toby know about what happened? He says, I don't know, but I'm just going to have to try to get in front of it then and do what I got to do.
Did you tell me not to make an incident report when the blow up happened on the floor? Okay, Judge.
So that we're getting into HR stuff.
Okay.
Did you observe anything after that, sir?
That particular day?
Mm-hmm.
No, he called my phone after we got off the phone. That was it. I went home.
And one
After
last
that,
question.
since that, let me ask a question. Since that time, have you observed any interactions between them or any alleged stalking behavior by him towards her?
Yes, the car incident and all that I described to you happened after the incident on the floor. The incident on the floor was the starting point.
How soon afterwards?
I would say maybe 2 weeks, between 1 to 2 weeks of time. These different incidents occurred.
Okay. And anything since that time?
That I physically saw, no.
Okay. All right. Do you have another question, sir?
One last thing. If you were at your desk, how did you know what was said between the two of us that was across the conference room?
You were loud enough to where everybody in the entire half side of the floor heard exactly what you said. If we're going to tell the truth and be 100% about it, again, you came over there talking to my representatives first, intoxicated, coming back from lunch. You were loud enough to where everybody in the area heard exactly what it was that you said.
All right. Any other questions?
So what exact actions did you see that constitute harassment or stalking after that incident? Or did you see anything observed after July 10th?
I no longer worked for the company as of July 11th, so I was no longer in the area.
Okay. That's it, Your Honor.
All right. May this witness be excused?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You may log off. All right.
Judge,
do you have any other witnesses, ma'am?
The one that he personally always talks to in our parking garage, he can't join at the moment. So no, that was the only one I have.
Okay. That's fine. All right, sir.
How would I go about calling the witness, ma'am?
It was listed on your notice about they forwarding them the Zoom link and they can log in. I'm going to take a 5-minute break and address the attorneys on the case that we have remaining, and then I will bring y'all back in. And sir, you may proceed with your testimony and or witnesses. Sir, okay? It is your turn to let the court know what you want the court to know about the allegations that have been presented. And you may present any evidence and or witnesses to that effect. Do you wish to testify at this point?
I do have witnesses.
Okay. And do you wish to testify?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, so I will let you testify first, and then you may call your witnesses. So, sir, you're already under oath. Please tell the court what you want me to know about these allegations.
The allegations about following her in the parking garage, and stalking her around the building, also with the allegations on the paper of harassing her family members and so forth, are all non-true.
Have you approached her son at all at the apartment complex?
No, ma'am. I don't know what he looks like. I've never seen him.
Okay. Ma'am, based on what he just testified to, I mean, you've already testified and had witnesses testify. Do you have any questions for him about what he just told the court?
No questions. It's just, although yes, this is what I'm saying, that it's stalking, because you don't know what he looks like. But he's been going over there for over a year with no problem. And then now into our investigation, you're now outside at the same time that he is every single time. So that's what I'm saying. You don't know what he looks like. You don't know anything about him. But yet now, because of this harassment case, you're now always outside when he was. Even when we were talking to each other, you never was outside with him. So it's not a coincidence. So that's my point.
No, this is not the time to testify. This is a question.
I don't have any questions for him. What he's saying is...
Okay, this is not the time to just... You've had a time to testify. All right, sir, do you have any witnesses that you wish to call?
Yes, they should be in the meeting hall, waiting.
All right. And how do you know Mr. Chaz Hicks?
From work. We work together. He's my manager also.
And how do you know Miss Shanquell Frazier?
Same place, from work.
Okay. Mr. Hicks, what questions would you like to ask him?
I would like to ask him, how does he know, or when did they first meet? How did their friendship come about?
So it was, well, we spoke a couple times in passing. And then it wasn't until, ironically, our lunches lined up. I guess my lunch was later. I took mine later. We met at Chick-fil-A. We struck a conversation. And then from there, that's when I proposed that we exchange numbers. We should continue to be friends or talk or whatever. And that day we exchanged numbers, and then it went on from there.
I'm confused. Hold on. I'm confused. Okay. Are you talking about him striking up a friendship with Miss Frazier or with you?
Yes. As in, like, when did they meet? Basically, what time period during the year did they become acquaintances?
This was March of this year.
Okay. When would you say, who would you have known each other first? Would it have been you've known me first, or would you have known her first?
I definitely known you first.
Okay. Did you strike up a conversation with Miss Frazier due to our relationship or something unrelated to me and you?
Absolutely not. It was unrelated. When we first spoke in passing, it was just general questions like, how long she's been working here? Does she have kids? Just regular stuff like that.
Okay. Did she ever mention that I follow her on lunch?
No.
So she never mentioned that I came up to you and said I followed her around on lunch?
No, she's never approached me and told me that you followed her on lunch. No.
Has she ever told you that I stalk her in and outside the building or around town?
She has.
Okay. And with that, did she present any evidence to you that I was in fact doing so?
No, never, not once.
When you and her were spending time, did she often bring me up as a problem, or did you strike up my name in conversation?
Oftentimes she brought you up. Oftentimes, more oftentimes than not.
Did some of that time cause you to warrant what was the suspicion between the two of us if she often brought me up?
Yes, it did. It did. Am I allowed to elaborate a little bit or no?
Yes.
You may explain your answer.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know. She brought him up a lot. She made it seem like, or she claimed that he stalked her, or at least from my perspective, if we could see Mr. Hicks, then apparently he's stalking her. there's one instance because she got off an hour after I did. So every now and again, she would ride with me home because I live in the same neighborhood as her. One time we were just walking to the parking garage, and I guess she saw him before I did. She looked behind and saw him, and she just automatically claimed that he's following her. Let's walk faster. Let's get back to your car. Let's get to your car. Let's get out of here as fast as possible. And it just looks like he was just walking in our general direction, and I didn't really understand what she was getting at with that, but I just hastily walked with her because, you know, I'm her ride. So that's an example of what I mean by, you know.
Okay. Mr. Lewis, did you ever hear any suspicions or find any evidence that, you know, even by around other people or proof that was out that I was stalking her?
Let me stop. So
Okay.
him finding proof, that's not, did you ever observe anything that appeared to be stalking behavior of him towards her?
No.
Next question.
Okay. Did you observe her coming inside of coming to our side of the building after she expressed that I was harassing her? Did you observe her in my vicinity?
I didn't physically see her, but I did hear that she was in our vicinity, like after everything was taking place here in terms of the dispute. I didn't see her, but people on our team that's in we're all in close proximity to each other. I did hear that she did approach and speak to one of our teammates whom he claims afterwards that he's never even met her, talked to her, or any of that. So he had no idea who she was or why she even came to approach him and talk to him.
Did you know of an instance where she came and hugged or made contact physically with me?
She
openly
admitted that she did that. Can we talk about when this is that you're talking about?
I would say around June, June-ish, May, June.
All right. The witness, Mr. Lewis,
yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Long, do you recall that an incident?
I did not see the incident, but she openly admitted to me that she did. She came over one afternoon after we got off work. She wanted to borrow a board game from me, and we were talking, and she brings up Mr. Hicks yet again, and she tells me that I don't know why basically she said that he went to her friends and was complaining about her, why she doesn't want to talk to him, after she openly admitted to me that she hugged him, or I believe it had something to do with I guess he had just got to management, or he just got his new team, or I don't remember. She said something about him looking sad and she hugged him. She made physical contact with him, and I was very confused by that. But she did openly admit that she made physical contact with him twice, actually.
Mr. Lewis, did she mention that she was going to have a conversation with me outside to ask me to profess my feelings for her?
Yes, which I told her not to do. That came about when me and her, we decided to go to lunch together because at this point in time, she's not coming around me as she used to.
Judge, it looks like she's in the car talking to someone. Oh, okay.
As long as it's not a witness, it's
okay.
Fine. Go ahead.
Right. So we had lunch together. She hasn't been around as much, and so she wanted to take me to lunch. So as we were walking to our destination, I brought up the fact that she told me that she can't use what's known as exchange time anymore. And we had a meeting about it. So in this instance, I brought Mr. Hicks up in terms of the meeting that he had with me and of course the rest of the team. She automatically just starts going on about how he's being weird. He brought the whole meeting up because, you know, it has to do with her. And I kept trying to, you know, veer her off of that because that's not what it was. So anyway, we had our lunch and then we came back, and on our way back, she decides that she wants to talk to him. And the context of the conversation that she wanted to have with him didn't make no sense to me. She says that she wants to find out if he has feelings for her. And I said to her, I was like, well, no, you should not do that. That doesn't make no sense because, I mean, I thought he was stalking. I don't really understand what's going on. I told her not to have that conversation.
Around when was this?
This was early June, I want to say.
Okay,
I don't remember the exact
date. I've told the parties to be civil. I understand what's being testified to may be upsetting, but I've also been able to read some lips just now, and I'm glad that you were muted. So I would ask that you please refrain from commenting while witnesses testify. Go ahead, Mr. Long.
Yeah, so she wanted to have a conversation with Mr. Hicks in terms of if he has feelings for her, hence why he's behaving the way he, she claims he's behaving. I told her that's not a good idea. It's either he's not going to be honest with you, or just don't do it because it doesn't make no sense. Because I mean, you're blurring it. Like, is he stalking you? What does it matter if he likes you or not? Anyway, she decides to go do it. And when she had that conversation with him, immediately after that conversation, she came to my desk looking visibly upset and tells me verbatim that she had a conversation with him. She asked him if he has any lingering feelings or anything like that. And when she said that, Mr. Hicks said no. What do you want to do this weekend? That's what she said that he said. She just said, you know what, goodbye, and just ended the conversation there. And then at that point, she came to me and basically told me how the conversation went.
Do you have any other questions for this witness?
So from your knowledge, from March or whatever, from July to now, or July 10th, even spanning back to June, did you observe any harassing, stalking behavior on my behalf that would constitute a separation?
And you said between June and July?
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't.
No further questions.
All right. So, ma'am, you may unmute and ask any questions you have about what he has testified to.
When did you and Chaz start becoming friends again? Because when me and you started talking, you and Chaz were not friends. So is it true that
okay,
you
so
and
hold on. That's one question. So she asked you, when did y'all become friends again? Because when y'all first started talking, you were not friends. When did you become friends again with Mr. Hicks?
Me and Chaz were never not friends. The reason why he didn't come around was because of you. He didn't want to be around you because of. He didn't want to come around. He gets to finish his answer. He didn't want to come around because I was dealing with you, and whatever y'all had going on before I came about is the reason why he was distant. Before you came around, I always talked to Chaz. He always came around me, and that's just what it was. It wasn't until you came around he distanced himself, which, yeah, I understand why he did that.
Answer questions, but let's not add extra commentary, please. Okay, so what's your next question, ma'am?
First of all, when we first...
Not to testify, so what's your question?
Judge, this witness, he literally
okay, so now this is not a time to comment. So do you have a question for this witness? Okay, all right.
The start of our conversation on that day we went to lunch was...
Ma'am. This is not the time for questions. I will give you a chance to testify in rebuttal in just a moment, okay? If you don't have any questions for this specific witness, then I'm going to...
I do have a question. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Go ahead. I understand this is upsetting, and every one of these situations, it's different and specific to each situation and very hard for everyone. And so I'm just asking that you do your best to please keep your cool and ask any questions if you have any for this witness about what he has testified to.
When we went to lunch that day, who showed who the text message?
All right.
Showed who what?
When we went to lunch to that pizza place, you showed me text messages that Chaz was sending you. Why did you show me those text messages?
What did I show you?
You showed me verbatim that, look, don't tell Chaz. These are the text messages that he showed me that he was following you at Vortex, watching you and your manager, Rob Scott, because he feels like you guys are talking. And then after that, I proceeded to tell you that I'm going to have a conversation with him because it's becoming creepy. You guys did not become friends.
Okay, stop. This is now you're getting into testimony. So she says you showed her text messages of the respondent, and you told her don't show him, don't tell him or show him, but these messages are him telling me he saw you with the other witness that just testified.
So
did you do that?
I'm trying to remember the text message that I said to her or showed her. I'm trying to remember verbatim what it said. But what he did tell me was that he saw her at Vortex. But what Mr. Hicks said to me verbatim was he saw her at Vortex with somebody else. To which a week later at this very lunch that she's talking about, me and her ended up talking about it. And she revealed who it was. So I'm trying to remember the text message. I mean, you could tell me verbatim what the text message said. I mean, I'm trying to remember what it is.
Judge, honestly, he's a false witness. He literally just texted my phone.
You can tell me when you...
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you. All right, sir, you're excused.
She has no proof. That's why she's upset.
Sir,
I have my text message in my phone.
Okay, show it.
No,
we're done. We're done. This witness is excused. All right. So I know you have, okay, who is your witness?
I only have about 3 questions for the next witness, which is
Okay.
a person I normally spend lunch with.
All right, you can bring them in.
You will have to admit her in. There she goes.
All right, could Stephanie Young please start your video? All right, she's not connected to audio. Here's where we're at. I'm going to hear from the petitioner her response. If this witness doesn't connect, I may have already heard enough anyway. But all right, because she bears the burden of proving that there have been acts of stalking with no ongoing communication by either party, which means one party can't reach out to the other party during this time and then also claim stalking. So that's one of the things the court has to look at. So with the information that's been presented to the court, ma'am, you may tell the court what you want me to know about what has been presented by the respondent.
I honestly just felt like he just couldn't take rejection very well, and that allowed him to continue to stalk me in any way he could, whether that was indirectly with my friends or if I tried to start a relationship with anyone else. I just asked for him to stop on multiple occasions. He just refused to stop. He is the reason why it has become and has been dragged out this far and why we have multiple investigations, because he is refusing to just stop. It doesn't take all of this to leave someone alone, especially if you're having multiple relations with other agents on your team, as well as at the workplace as well, in between all of that. So my thing is why you just can't stop. I honestly just want the harassment to stop. Honestly, that's really it.
Okay.
He won't stop.
Okay. So under the law, there has to be a pattern of contact for no legitimate purpose with no mutual ongoing contact between the parties. Based on listening to all the evidence and the witnesses, I cannot find by preponderance of the evidence that stalking has occurred. I've heard testimony about one party instigating contact with the other party. Sir, while I cannot find and extend the order at this time under the evidence that's been presented, she seems to have made it very clear that she does not want contact with you. And this does sound somewhat like a work HR situation that is still ongoing and may continue. If she does not reach out to you and you continue to reach out to her, she may end up having grounds to refile again for stalking in the future. So I just ask the parties to be aware of that. Sir, you be aware of that. But at this time, I cannot find that there has been sufficient evidence by the standard of proof. And so I'm going to dismiss it at this time. Thank you both.